What I want, anyone who's considering moving abroad to understand is that you're not going to have everything figured out. Ladies, let's go! Today's a big day. We have this morning and the afternoon, we're doing a group photo shoot so that our team has a group photo together, and then we're doing individual portraits. This evening, we're going to be inviting all of our partners and friends to come to our office for the first time in an open house soirée, where we will be toasting again with some more champagne. It's going to be really fun and exciting to have all the people that we work with in our office together.
Probably notice this is the courtyard.
Yeah.
So it's basically flat. So I feel like that would be a good option. But then there's also this if you wanted a little foliage on the top.
Yeah. Definitely the goal is to get one portrait of like just a white background, like a neutral background that we can use like on our email signatures.
So I'll just have you stand here, like both hands in the pockets, waist up kind of thing. Setting the standards so high.
I've been contacted to guest speak at this event with this company called She Hit Refresh, and the owner of this company, Seppi, she invited me to come tell my story to other women who are wanting to move abroad. So I've got this gig coming up, and she sent me a whole bunch of questions, and I want to practice a little bit so that my story comes across clearly, concisely, and impactful. So I thought, since I'm practicing, answering these questions and telling my story about moving abroad, I thought it would be a great opportunity to share some of my tips for moving abroad if you're considering moving from the US or Canada or wherever you are. Do a discovery visit where you essentially move here for like 2 to 4 weeks, or as long as you can afford to live here as a tourist, but getting past that tourist phase where you kind of get out of the honeymoon phase and you feel and see what it is to live like a local. So Paris is beautiful in the photos and in videos and all, but you have to get past that phase where you're a tourist. So live locally, take the metro, see what it's gonna feel like to live in a Parisian building and have Parisian neighbors and speak the language. Yes! Soon to be multi-billion euro company. Oh my gosh, all of you such a ham. Top ladies, let's go! I highly recommend learning the local language where you're thinking about moving to, because that will just help you integrate into society, find community, understand what's going on, understand the paperwork, the administration a little bit easier, and just have a more enjoyable time, going out to restaurants, ordering food. So what will often happen when you're like at a cafe, you're trying to speak to the locals in French here, People will try to speak to you in English because they see that you're having a little bit of a hard time speaking French. One thing I've heard Charlotte say before when she's on the phone trying to get information and it's really difficult to understand, she'll say something like, oh, please be patient with me. French is not my first language, it's not my maternal language. And I think people will lighten up a little bit and they tend to be a little bit more patient because you say that and they're like, oh, okay, you're trying to at least speak the language. It's just all about trying to make an effort, put yourself out there, and it can be really scary at first, but just know, like, we've all been there. There are a lot of foreigners in the city and a lot of people who do speak English, so don't be afraid to ask for help, ask people to be patient, ask people to repeat themselves. It's all part of the process of learning a foreign language. Non, mais est-ce que t'as envie de prendre à emporter? Salade, on est là. Il n'y a pas de... Alright, so we just got done with our photo shoot. That was so much fun. We did some glam shots, some portraits, some group shots of the team. Now we are grabbing lunch. We're gonna go eat at the office and then work for a bit, and from there around 5:30 we'll be setting up for our evening, our open house at the office. So we're so excited to have everyone come. Pizza. Ooh. We're going to get some flowers for our party. I don't know why I did this. Was so awkward, like Nancy Pelosi when she said, right? I was like, we're gonna go. Another tip that I have for everyone, when you're applying for your visa and then you get into the country, you always want to apply for your residence permit. So make sure that every time you're applying that you're doing everything by the books. If your card expires, you're gonna have to go back to your home country. So make sure that when you're doing all your paperwork that you're applying for the renewal in time, like 3 to 6 months before it expires, so that you don't risk getting a fine or even kicked out of the country. Love these. Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, are they carnations? Yeah, carnations. Oh my gosh, I've never loved carnations so much. The color is good. Whoa. Ooh, I like this. Paye par carte, s'il vous plaît. Et si vous pouvez me faire la facture. Good, t'es venu. Mais moi aussi.
I am Daniel Tostado. I am a French immigration attorney. I'm just the visa guy. I'm just the one that helps them figure out what's the right visa to pick, how to go out and get that visa. I have known Celine for 8 years now, so we go back a long way even before she founded this company. It's worked out really well to maintain contact because we have a lot of crossover interest between what I do, which is French immigration, helping people move to France, and what she does, which is helping people be well here in France. Yeah, there's a good natural compatibility between her angle and my angle. I think it's interesting about the work that Celine's doing. I think first and foremost, the sign of her growth is a sign of how explosive it is, like how good work being done then brings in new staff to make it happen. But from what I've seen about how Celine works, she has this like get it done kind of approach, in the sense that whatever the client might end up needing to be done, whether it's maintaining a property or going to get some random dress with some random size, that's her team's goal, is to make that end up happening. For those that are watching, if anyone has immigration questions or how to make that move to France, what's required, what's the right fit, feel free to post those questions in the comments, and we could have maybe an entire video specialized on those kind of questions that get raised.
My name is Julie Fine. I am a realtor in Paris. I work in an agency called Iconic Paris in the heart of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. I specialize in long-term rentals and I also do sales.
What is long-term in your line of business?
Good question. So a long-term rental means a 1-year minimum contract. You can obviously rent for less than a year. But the problem with this is for an owner, it puts them into a different fiscal category of a short-term rental, and they're taxed at a more disadvantageous rate. So long-term is a 1-year renewable contract. It can be 9 months for a student, but this is the length of time that I do at the very minimum. We're both Americans trying to give a New York quality service. Paris, right?
Yeah, the American level of customer service.
And there's a lot of pressure on us to deliver, right? And so I think definitely the Americans appreciate that, but even more so the French clients, if we're working with them, they're quite impressed with our ability to take a request and transform it into reality, right? Offering a service, so we've got to deliver. The rental market is pretty unwelcoming to foreigners, so I will help from every aspect, from assembling the dossier, selecting the apartments, organizing the visits. Because forget about calling the agents. I mean, they won't even take your call. So I know a lot of them. I have a personal connection, so I just have to send them a WhatsApp and I say, can you get me a visit with my client tomorrow, 4 a.m.? She says, okay. 4 p.m. She says, okay, sure. So I've got the ability to get those appointments, which somebody just coming, fresh off the boat in Paris couldn't possibly get, or their call is just simply not answered because their agent is so busy and they have no time.
Yeah.
So
that's so good to know.
Service that I offer.
C'est assez connu, c'est dans notre premier épisode.
On était voisins,
Oui. On a un client là-bas. On s'est croisés tout le temps.
Ah oui,
Oh là là. On peut le mettre debout?
Oh my god.
Oh là là. Il y avait un journaliste qui est venu. Il nous a contactés pour dire on fait un article sur les conciergeries, comment ça va se passer pendant cet été et tout. Donc on était publiés aussi.
C'est une bonne,
voilà.
une bonne d'être dans l'équipe, surtout en ce moment avec l'euro qui commence. Ah non, c'est génial. Ça va être un gros travail.
Why was it important to you?
It's important to see the people that we work with on a day-to-day basis, and because a lot of the times we're like on phone calls with them or emails and we don't actually get to see them face to face. We're not doing business, I guess, like you used to, where you would call someone up in the phone book. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everything is very like we're digital, remote. I guess it's so important to do these kinds of like mixers, networking events and soirees, to not only like meet people face to face, but to thank them for the work that they've done on like behalf of our clients. Another tip that I have for you is to know where you have to declare your taxes. So
if you're living in France, you might have to declare your taxes here. If you're a US citizen, you definitely have to declare your taxes in the US. So myself personally, I ran into a few issues last year because I found out that as a business owner in France, the IRS considers my business a foreign entity. So I had to basically give them all the paperwork and like let them see all of my activity, basically open the books for them. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay taxes in each country. There is like an agreement with both countries that depending on how much you make, they will tax you a certain amount and then a certain amount in the other country if you reach a certain threshold. So if you don't know who to reach out to, definitely seek some help from a tax expert. And we can even give you a link for the one that I've used in the description if you are like seeking some help.
I have every phone number. Sometimes I'm like, do I have that phone number? And then I do. What I want, anyone who's considering moving abroad to understand is that you're not going to have everything figured out all of a sudden. Like, you're not going to arrive in Paris. You're not going to know like exactly what you're doing necessarily. In my case, I moved here and I didn't have anything figured out. I didn't even have a place to live or a visa. And I came and slowly got my visa, so I was legal, found housing, and then in terms of work, I did a whole bunch of different things. I feel almost like I've lived 9 lives living in Paris because I started off kind of as a nanny. I worked at a bar even, I was a bartender. Like the worst job that I ever had in Paris was I worked at this warehouse, like packaging products, like kind of in an Amazon warehouse. You have to find jobs to do to survive and to make a living here. And sometimes you have to just like do the job to feed yourself and to pay your rent. The beauty of moving abroad is that there's like this whole territory of the unknown, and you just don't know like what tomorrow's gonna bring. You may have an idea, you may have your dreams about what that's gonna look like for you, but sometimes it doesn't turn out the way that you expect it to. Sometimes people move abroad and they don't see the results that they want to, and they get frustrated with the process. But especially in France, things take a lot longer than us Americans would expect or understand. So I've seen firsthand the struggles of moving abroad and the challenges, and I built my business around it to be able to help others so that they could suffer a little bit less or just have some help along the way. So if you or someone that you know needs help with moving abroad or has any questions, please leave a comment or a question down below on our video, and we'd be happy to get back to you and connect.